Hey YouTube, today in this video I'm going to be doing a deck profile on my updated and finally revived Musketeer deck. So this is another Nectar deck because Nectar currently is really the only clan that I've been updating because of the TRY3 booster and the trial deck and all other stuff. So I thought I'd revisit Nectar, the Musketeers, because Musketeers are pretty popular back in the day when Nectar didn't have a whole lot of other options besides like Maiden of Trailing Rose and the reverse stuff. Musketeers were really like the main Nectar deck that was actually competitive once upon a time, back in the days of VN, Dote, and Maelstrom and all that stuff. So anyway, without further ado, let's get right into it. First grade 3 I'm running is the new one, so 4 White Clover Musketeer Miarita. So this one is the one that Miguel used in the show against Tokoha, if you guys remember. It's a pretty decent card. It has an on-stride skill, so it's kind of like, I treat upgrading my Nectar deck similar to what I did with the Spike Brothers, where Spike Brothers got a new Vanguard that had an on-stride skill. So the Musketeers finally got something that has an on-stride skill. Basically, it gives them the Calvant or Rebecca skill. But anyway, he or she, well, it's Miarita, so it's probably a girl. But anyway, at the end of the turn, the GB1 skill is a auto Vanguard skill that says at the end of the turn, choose up to 2 normal units with Musketeer in the name from the drop zone, put them on the bottom of the deck in any order. So it allows you to make it so that you don't have like decking out problems, really, because Musketeers, for those who don't know, they're really fast at setting up their board and milling a bunch of stuff. So this is kind of a primary grade 3. The other one that's in here, now there's a lot of other choices. You could go with the new rare that came out, which is also 11k, or you could go with the Legion, Vera, and then there's Elvira and a few other ones, but I chose to stick with White Lily Musketeer Cecilia, mainly because Cecilia, if you don't remember, Cecilia actually has a stride unit that she got a while back. So in order to make use of that stride unit, I am stuck with the original Cecilia, but the only really negative thing about Cecilia is that she is a 10k Vanguard, and that can be a problem when you're up against those other decks that do run 10k grade 1s, in the rare case that you're up against like someone like Revengers or something running Masquerade, or people who use 10k vanillas. That's also kind of an issue, but the other main problem is that your Vanguard will swing 25 without a booster, which is also potentially a problem because it'll make G-guarding this, like your stride attack, much easier. So that's kind of the major downside of Cecilia, but hey, I really hope that Butcher will eventually make a new Cecilia with 11k base, and then they'll be back in the game. At least Cecilia will be ready for the big time. But anyway, for her, because she is still decent because she gives you access to the stride unit, and she still has the ability to help you set up your board early, in addition to her limit break skills. So yeah, that's the grade 3 lineup. Moving on to grade 2s, I'm running 4 of the new Prunus Cerulata Musketeer Tessa. I don't think I butchered that name. But anyway, Tessa's actually one of the better cards that they got out of the new stuff, because she basically has the ability to gain numbers, and she basically can become 11k and give 4k to another regard that's called on the field. That's Musketeer. So based off of the number of G-Zone Musketeers, so you do want to have face-up G-Zone Musketeers. So that's why, again, Cecilia can be useful, because if you stride Cecilia, you have the option of either striding the new stride Musketeer or the Cecilia one, depending on the situation. So for Tessa, she's one of the better, more go-to cards. I would definitely recommend running her at 4 copies. Next, I'm running 4 Sylvia, because Sylvia, she is actually a reprint of a promo with an alternate art, which I never had the promo, but now I have this, so I'm actually running it at 4 copies. It's very much like the turtle, people who remember the little turtle guy from the Ripple deck in Aquaforce, it's kind of like that. It's a 7k that basically reveals the top card. If it's Nectar with Musketeer, you call it to R, and everything in the deck is Musketeer, so it's never going to fail. It doesn't cost any counterblast. That's the main reason why we use it. It's really easy at throwing stuff on the board, kind of like what Nectar and Gold Paladins do anyway, so it's a natural fit here. And then to make up for her wimpy 7k attack, I'm still running 3 Augusto because he's a 12k and he can rush really early. No GB restriction, nothing, just old school Augusto. Some people will run, I've seen some people running Calvant. I don't think Calvant's necessary because he uses a counterblast. Cecilia already helps set up the board. The on-strike skill setups the board. And there's all kinds of other ways to set up the board, like this thing. You don't really need Augusto. I would rather rush early and try to poke them as much as I can. So, plus Augusto works really well with a certain grade 1 from old school plays, which we'll talk about now that we're in grade 1s. So moving on to grade 1s, for Antonio, he's the Musketeer Perfect Guard. You gotta run him because you are running Sylvia. If you top deck him, then he gets to go to the field. So, and these Musketeers can be recycled back in the deck and all that stuff. Next, another old school card that I am running 4 copies of is Water Lily Musketeer Ruth. So it's ironic that I'm running a 10k grade 3 Vanguard, and I'm also running a 10k Attacker grade 1, really old school card. She's one of the first type of these cards that was a rear guard that could swing 10, a grade 1. So we do this because these two are in here because this is an old school deck. Musketeers really need to rush the opponent down as fast as they can. You want to improve your chances of top decking useful attackers on the field early. If you say you ride Sylvia or you call Sylvia down, you want to improve the chances that you'll get like decent attackers. So for Ruth, for that reason, along with Augusto. The next grade 1 that I'm running is 3 of Mirka. So I was always running the original, the promo Mirka. I actually had that one. I'm running 3 copies of her. She's really important in here and she actually goes hand in hand with Augusto because these two together forms a very easy to pull off 21k column without too much trouble, because typically with Cecilia, with Striding, and all the other with Sylvia, you're going to be shuffling your deck. As far as I know, yeah. Well, if you choose not to call, like if you get a trigger and then you shuffle the deck, then yeah, then you get this. But anyway, you do get her skill off multiple times per game, so that's why we're on 3 copies of her. She's basically the Bruno of the deck, although she can't power up continuously like Bruno, but she still allows you to swing pretty good column lines, having a 9k booster like her. The last grade 3 I'm running is a new one, Titania. So Titania is basically the Musketeer stride fodder. She's really good top deck choice with Sylvia, because you can use her, you basically want her to go on the board as fast as you can to use her to boost or attack, and then later on when you need to stride, you'll just retire her to stride for free when you're going to a Musketeer strides. So only 3 because, I mean, I could try her at 4. I'd probably take out 1 Ruth, but I found being able to rush the opponent early, since this is an older style deck without GB1 restrictions, you do want to rush them as fast as you can. I found that Titania is more useful later in the middle of the game and the late game for striding purposes, specifically for the Musketeer strides, because you can't use her effect to stride into something like Jingle, Flower Dragon, or Primavera, so that's why you only run 3 copies of her. For the trigger lineup, 4 Stan, because Ernest also helps you get Mirka's shuffle skill off. If you top deck him, he's easy to put back in the deck and call something else, so he's really good. Stand triggers with Augusto is always a good thing. Next we run 4 Alon, because he is your unflipped target, and he's Musketeer. So those 2 are pretty decent top deck cards as well. Then we have 4 of the new critical trigger for Musketeers. Rosalia, so she replaces Daniel. And then 4 of the new heal, Nicole, she replaces Hannah. So, like I said, all Musketeers. And the starter is, of course, the new one, Baby Blue Eyes Musketeer, Mei Lan. So they finally got a really decent starter. He's not GB restricted, he's 5k, so they don't have to run the grade 3 searcher anymore, or the Legion thing that never really did anything anyway. So definitely a good boost in terms of the starter lineup. So moving on the stride deck, I am running, so they only have currently 2 Mira, so I'm running 2 Mira. She's the main Musketeer stride. The other one is Cecilia, so I'm running 2 of each. So I have access to striding this up to 2 times by flipping up my Cecilias, or if I stride Cecilia once, then I'll stride this and flip up her, or itself, probably itself, and then flip up, and then be able to stride Cecilia again. That's only if Cecilia's the Vanguard, though, that I'd ever do that. So 2 for now, because I don't have 4 of these, but I would like to get at least another one of these. Next, Primavera. She has kind of fallen out of favor with the Bloom deck, but she's still very relevant in Musketeers because of how just when you use the card, it actually benefits Musketeers a lot better than the Blooms. Then Jingle Flower Dragon, because he's also pretty decent if you manage to set up the board where you have like a bunch of Mirkas in the back and maybe like a couple of these in the front row or something, or if you have like a bunch of Cecilias. Like if you have 3 Cecilias from using the Limit Break effect or whatever. It's rare that that'll happen, but he's just in here just because he's pretty good gainer. 2 Verano, because she can help you recover if you're up against someone who just keeps blowing up your board, like Narukami or someone who just keeps being annoying and nuking the field. Then 2 of the Dream Spinning Asha, because you'll never really stride her first, but the thing about her is that you can stride her like in the middle of the game. If you don't have anything else, like if you don't have a proper board, you won't use Jingle Flower. If you don't really feel that it's optimal to stride into your, Mira, because you don't have Titania or something, let's say you have a bunch of Mirkas or something, then you might want to stride her and get like another Mirka or some other thing out with her other skill, so there's that. Then 1 Seabreeze for reasons. And then 2 Rainbreath Dragon, because it's a pretty solid one for them. Then I'm running 1 Verna in here because Verna is easier to pull off for Musketeers than the new one that works best with Ranunculus builds. And then 1 Desmal, again for reasons. So that's basically the Stride deck. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of Musketeers, how they compare to Blooms, Maiden ofs, Arbros, other type of Neo Nectar builds, and as always guys, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.